Yo, what's up, guys? What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Nolan Show. It's April 6th, 2023. Whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, thank you. We're going to be talking a lot of Mets today, a lot of Jets, a lot of Giants, a lot of Yankees, and a lot of Knicks. Knicks postseason is set up. They're going to be facing the Cavs and the Mets. Some big opening day news that's causing a lot of drama in Mets land. Will Francisco Alvarez get the opening day start? We'll find out. We'll find out tomorrow. I think he should get it, though. I mean, they said it early on in spring training. I think Michael Meyer actually came out today, too, and reported that the Mets do plan on actually starting him in a frequent amount if he is going to be at the big league level, because you don't want to just have Francisco Alvarez not swing the bat. He is a 22-year-old or 21-year-old prospect. So they need him to get some action. So it only makes sense that he would start tomorrow, to be honest. And I think he should start tomorrow because this Mets team, it needs a youth infusion and it needs a power bat. And I'm not saying he's going to be a guy that's just going to come into the lineup and hit 35 home runs. No, he's not going to do that. And I don't think any Mets fan should expect him to do that. But I think it's fair to expect him to do something. I mean, yeah, he struggled in spring training, but he's had an okay start so far in AAA. We saw him get off to a good start, just like Brett Beatty and Vientos have too, and so has Ronnie Mauricio too. So the Mets prospects, they're making some noise down in AAA in Syracuse. So a lot of Mets fans should be excited for this. But ultimately, like Eduardo Escobar, I think is going to get like another month, which is going to suck. But let's talk about this Mets home opener, though, and get right into Francisco Alvarez a little bit more. I mean, it's really only up to Buck, but I think Buck does like Francisco Alvarez as well. I'm not sure if he loves him, but I know he does I think he likes the idea of him. I don't think he wants him to be at the major league level yet, but like I said, he's 22, 21 years old. You're going to need to get him those at-bats. You can't just have him sit the bench. Plus, he's going to benefit. It's not like he's catching Max Scherzer tomorrow or Justin Verlander or a Kodai Senga. He's catching Tyler McGill. Tyler McGill has been in AAA just last week. So they have familiarity there. It's not like he's going to be off the charts, out of it. So I think Francisco Alvarez can handle it, getting the starting job tomorrow. And like I said earlier, this Mets team needs a youth infusion. They need that power bat outside of Pete Alonso, because you saw it literally just yesterday. The pitching sucked, and outside of Mark Hanna and Tommy Pham, really once this offense so far, I know it's a short sample size, but this offense so far looks like the same as last year. It's just going to be the top five guys. You know, McNeil, Nimmo, Marte, Lindor, Alonso, and McNeil in order. But it's really just those five guys. And after that, it's a huge drop-off. I love Vogie, though. He does get on base here and there, but he is slow. And I think we should keep him, too, he's not been paid that much, too. And he could be a good, pinch hit piece as well. We saw him come off the bench just the other day and had a nice big double for us. So, listen, I'm not saying that we need to make these moves now, but I think if Francisco Alvarez performs well, which I do think he will start tomorrow, and if he does perform well, I think we should keep him up. I think you send Nito down. You don't send Alvarez back down. You keep Alvarez up because, like I said, this team needs that spark. We're an old team. And same thing with Mark Hanna. I think, he went 3 for 4 the other day, but other than that, he sucked. Let's be real. And his defense, I'm sure a lot of Mets fans really are scared to admit it sometimes, but Mark Hanna's defense is terrible in left field. There's so many balls. His range is awful. And I'm not going to knock him because he's not an outfielder. He's traditionally a third baseman and a first baseman. He's not an outfielder. So the fact that we're sticking him in left field is just for what? Offensive production? He's not a defensive left fielder. He's not really, what is he, a contact hitter? He hit 264 last year. He's not a contact hitter. Come on, guys. Mark Hanna stinks. Yeah, he could be a good bench piece, but he's not a starter, especially on a team that has a $364 million payroll. So that's what I'm trying to allude to with Mark Hanna. Yes, Ronnie Mauricio should be playing left field a lot. And yeah, he probably offers a lot more range out there too. I mean, the athleticism of Ronnie Mauricio is off the charts. I think he, a player comp for him, a good player comp is honestly Trey Turner. Both of them Like, I think their athleticism buys them out a lot. He swings at bad pitches, yeah, but he can drive that bad pitch deep. He can drive that bad pitch into the gap, and he can get to third base when a ball hit to the outfield. He can score from first. There's a lot of things that Ronnie Mauricio can do. That's why I like comparing him to a guy like Trey Turner. Now, am I saying he's going to turn into Trey Turner? No, but that's just his player comp for me, at least. But yeah, I want to see these prospects at some point make it up here in 2023. All four of them: Mauricio, Vientos, Alvarez, and Beatty. Luckily, we get to see Alvarez probably tomorrow, and I'm really hoping he gets off to a hot start. And then, if Eduardo Escobar keeps on struggling, he's got to go down. He's not down, but you got to put him on the bench. You got to cut him because, yeah, he had a great 2 months. Congrats. He had a great 2 months. Are we really going to let 2 months stop the Mets from achieving what they want to achieve? If Brett Beatty is the better option, age shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. Listen, Escobar showed up out of shape, it looks like. I'm not going to speculate anything, but just look at last year, in August and September and October, Escobar was tearing it up. Why? Because look at the shape he was in. He's a guy who has 20-plus home run potential, I'm not going to lie. But right now, he sucks. He sucked in spring training. He was terrible to start the year last year too. So if he's going to be holding us back and Brett Beatty's tearing it up and he's more than ready, then Beatty should be up here. Just like Alvarez is going to be up here tomorrow. And I think if Alvarez, I don't think if Narvaez is healthy and he's ready to come back, yeah, bring back Narvaez. But if if he's lighting it up, you do not put Alvarez back down. Because like I said, like I alluded to, you need that youth infusion in a lineup like this. You need another power bat in a lineup like this. Because, if we're talking 3 weeks from now, Francisco Alvarez is the Francisco Alvarez that every Mets fan and every Mets guy in the organization, Mets coaching, thinks this guy is. And if Francisco Alvarez plays like Francisco Alvarez thinks he can play, then, who knows? Maybe we have a 5-hitter. Maybe we can bat McNeil 9th. Maybe we can bat McNeil 6th in a more feasible area for a guy like him where he can score more. Because really, we have McNeil in the 5 spot trying to drive in runs, and he's a slap hitter that should be getting driven in. He's not a guy who should be driving in runs. McNeil should be he should be the one scoring. So if we can get a Francisco Alvarez to bat 5th, then we can move McNeil to bat 9th. And then think about this. Think about all the flexibility in this lineup now. The lineup becomes that much more dangerous if Alvarez produces. And same thing if we get Brett Beatty up here and Brett Beatty starts to produce. It becomes that much more dangerous. Because yes, do we have a star-studded lineup in Nimmo, Marte, Lindor, Alonso, and McNeil? 100%. But imagine those 5. Well, then you could, like I said, you could put McNeil, bat him 6th. You can bat him 9th in a more where he could start the in and off and get on base and get driven in, because we don't want McNeil driving in runs at the end of the day. He's a guy like Brandon Nimmo and Starlin Marte who gets on base all the time. And you want guys like Lindor, Alonso, and Alvarez and Beatty to drive them in. And Beatty could bat 7th or 8th, and he could be that run driver in just right like you bat McNeil 6. And then imagine after McNeil, you have Brett Beatty, you have Mark Vientos. I'm not saying add Mark Vientos, but I think Brett Beatty should be in this lineup. I really do, especially after what he's been doing. I know he's day-to-day right now, but if he comes back and he's still the same and Escobar continues to just stink it up, there's no excuse for Beatty not to be at the big league level. Who cares about age? Who cares about veteran presence? Who cares about 2 months that Escobar had that was really good? If Beatty's the best option, Beatty should be at the big league level. No excuses. And yes, I'm worried about this pitching staff. I'm worried about the bullpen. I'm worried about Max Scherzer. I was talking to Brandon. I was talking actually on Tiki and Tierney earlier today. Whatchamacallit? On Tiki and Tierney, I was talking with Brandon Tierney. I called in, and Brandon Tierney asked me, actually, he was like, yo, what's the Mets' one strength? And I actually thought about it, and I couldn't name it. I said it was supposed to be pitching, and it's not pitching because Scherzer has sucked. Verlander hasn't started yet. Really, outside of Kodai Senga, there hasn't been a bright spot. Tyler McGill got knocked around. David Peterson got knocked around. The defense bailed him out a lot, both those guys, and they're good starts. And like I said, Scherzer, late in the game, he's been horrible. So this pitching staff was supposed to be the strength. It was supposed to be Edwin Diaz closing it down. Obviously, he's on the IL for the whole entire year, which is unfortunate. And Adam Ottavino, he had that meltdown in the 9th inning the other day. So And then obviously our lineup. I mean, Correa, it fell through. So he was supposed to be that other big bopper. Now we don't have that other big bopper. It's just Alonso and Lindor, just the same as last year. So this team is actually kind of worse than the 100-win team from last year, in my opinion. Can it get better? Yeah. Can Brett Beatty and Francisco Alvarez, that youth infusion, provide a jolt to this team that they need? Yeah, 100%. Can Steve Cohen tell Billy Epler at some point in the season to go make that trade move to make this team, to bolster this lineup up and make them a legit lineup? Yeah, they could. But right now, this team is nowhere. It's not on par with the 101 team that it was last year. It's just not. They don't have Edwin Diaz. Justin Verlander hasn't replaced Jacob deGrom's 5 wins or even Tyler McGill's stellar start to last year. We got to remember, Tyler McGill came out the gates firing last year. And the Mets were off to a terrific start. They were like the third best team in baseball. And then they kind of fell off, and they were really like the St. Louis Cardinals. So we started the year overachieving, and then they kind of mellowed out into what we are. And we are probably a 90-win team, a 90 to 95-win team. But we also have the potential, with a couple injuries to, I don't know, a Pete Alonso or even a Francisco Lindor, God forbid. And this Mets team it's done. It's done. I mean, and I'm not going to say it can't happen, because we saw with Edwin Diaz it happened. Justin Verlander's already on the IL. So I'm not going to say it can't happen. We're one major injury away from, even if Brandon Nimmo gets hurt, Jeff McNeil gets hurt. All like those little guys. We saw what Starlin Marte's injury did to us last year. So, and Max Scherzer doesn't look like the Max Scherzer he once was. That's another thing too. Last year, Max Scherzer was pitching. He was lights out to start the year. He doesn't look like that anymore. Yeah, he's getting paid $40 million. He's getting paid the most money he's ever been paid, but he's not pitching like the best he's ever pitched. We're not getting prime Max Scherzer. We're getting the elder Max Scherzer. And I'm not going to get this boomer mentality right now and say, we're done, we're screwed. Max Scherzer, I think, can figure it out. Maybe we just need to switch to a 6-man rotation, something like that. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, the roster, the way it is right now, currently constructed, it needs to be changed. Because if Eduardo Escobar continues to struggle, I don't think he should have a long leash. Brett Beatty is tearing it up. Even though he's day-to-day right now, he's tearing it up. Vientos is tearing it up. Canna, like I said, his left field defense is terrible. Yeah, he went 3 for 4 the other day, but outside of going 3 for 4, what has Mark Canna done? He had a good start to last year, but then he had a terrible end to last year. And he's not a left fielder. He's a third baseman and a first baseman. Mark Canna is not a starting left fielder on a team that has a $364 million payroll. I am sorry. It's just not feasible to watch Mark Canna drop the balls that are being dropped in left field should be getting caught. Like, that's adding to the reason we're getting blown out 10-0 and 9-0 the next day, and then losing 6-4. Guys are getting on base when they shouldn't get on base because the balls are dropping in left field. Mark Canna is not a left fielder. So that needs to be addressed. Eduardo Escobar, that needs to be addressed. The 6-man rotation, switch to it, I don't know, but it needs to be addressed as something to help Max Scherzer out. Because this rotation was supposed to be the strength. But Diaz is hurt now. Verlander's hurt. Scherzer isn't what he once was. And outside of Kodai Senga, like I said, this rotation isn't the Mets' strength anymore. And the lineup isn't really a strength either. Because outside of the first 5, let's be real, guys. Is it sustainable? I don't know. But I'm interested to see what Francisco Alvarez does tomorrow. I'm excited for it. If you're a Mets fan and you're really not familiar with Francisco Alvarez and you just remember just him throwing the bat last year and kind of just shitting the bed in big moments, don't be too alarmed. I think the Mets kind of called him up way too early. I think, if he starts tomorrow, Francisco Alvarez, the pop that he's going to receive is going to be off the charts. I think the biggest crowd reactions is going to be Francisco Lindor, because he showed up yesterday. He showed up. And it's probably going to be tied for Pete Alonso and Francisco Alvarez. So I think you go Lindor then Alvarez, the two Franciscos that are going to get the biggest pop. Mets fans are dying to see this guy. We need a power bat. Imagine if he pops off tomorrow for like a home run or two, that'd be dope. Even if he just gets on base a couple times, just gets a couple base knocks, I'm just excited to see it, and I think he'll benefit from it too. Because he was also on the road last year. That's another pressure-packed environment. I'm sure that, it's going to be pressure just with the crowd reacting for him, like going nuts, cheering for him, all in all. But it's a little bit better when the crowd's cheering for you rather than when the crowd's cheering for the other team and you're on the road in literally a playoff race. Like it was a playoff series against the Atlanta Braves. So I'm excited to see what he can do, especially in a non-pressured environment. Yes, it's going to be pressure because it's a home opener. But last year, I think, was more pressure than the home opener. So I'm excited to see Francisco Alvarez, but I'm not going to spend too much time on him. Let's talk about these New York Jets, though. Mets to Jets. Is Zach Wilson a good enough backup for this team? I mean, like I said, I was talking about it yesterday. Garrett Wilson, McCall Hardman, Alan Lazard, Corey Davis. We might bring in Odell Beckham Jr. now, Breece Hall, and like I said, the offensive lineman that should be coming back, Mekhi Becton, Elijah Vera Tucker, Laken Tomlinson can hopefully improve. So I think that should really help the Jets. And then you got to think, too, on the defensive side, we already had a top 5 defense, top 5 in almost every major defensive statistical category. Jesus, that's a tongue twister for me for some reason. But yeah, this Jets team defensively is elite. And offensively with Aaron Rodgers, they're elite. So is Zach Wilson a guy who we want to trust as the backup quarterback in case Aaron Rodgers goes down? Is Zach Wilson the guy we want throwing the ball to McCall Hardman, to Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, Alan Lazard, potentially Odell Beckham Jr., handing the ball off to Breece Hall? Because that's really what it's going to be. That's what he was last year when he was even playing. It's really just like, do we want that guy as the backup? Do Jets fans trust Zach Wilson as the backup? Maybe he can develop into a backup quarterback. Maybe he can be a starting quarterback one day, but I don't think next year, when the expectation with Aaron Rodgers is going to be to win a Super Bowl. If Aaron Rodgers gets hurt late in the season and the Jets are on their way, let's say the Jets are like an 11-win team at some point in the season and Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, or let's say Aaron Rodgers gets hurt in the playoffs and Zach Wilson steps in, will Jets fans be shitting their pants, or will Jets fans be like, okay, I'm confident this kid is going to be able to do it? Because with Mike White, at least, I'm not saying Mike White should have been the guy, but like at least with Mike White, when he stepped in, it was like, okay, we have a guy, he can still calm everything down. He can just make the basic plays, make the basic throws, get the job done. The defense can win us the game. But Zach Wilson, when he's in, it's like, oh boy, here we go. What's going on? The ball could be the other team could have the ball in literally 2 seconds with him, or we could be scoring in one play with him. We don't know. So that's why I'm like, is Zach Wilson a good enough backup quarterback for this New York Jets team with the pieces that we have, even outside of Aaron Rodgers? Because the Packers they never built a team around Aaron Rodgers like the Jets are building, and the New York Jets will get Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure all this little hoopla is just overblown because it's the New York Jets. It's a trade. It's going to take time, guys. Listen, it would be great if it happens today or if it happened a month ago, but it's going to take time. Who cares? If we have to give up a first-round pick, we don't want to give up a first-round pick. That's why it's taking so long. Joe Douglas is trying to finesse, let him work his magic. But not spending too much time on the Jets. I'm going to be talking a lot of Jets as the draft heats up. And plus, when Aaron Rodgers breaks the news, I'm going to probably do it live too. But let's talk about these New York Giants. I want to talk about if they can win the NFC East. I'm going to spend a little bit of quick, like 5 minutes on them. I was talking about it yesterday. Darren Waller is a stud. He was a guy who had back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving yard seasons in Las Vegas. Well, when they weren't Las Vegas. But, yeah, when he was with the Raiders, he was a beast. Like I said, back-to-back 1K yard seasons. He fell off kind of because of injury. Last 2 years, he's only played 14 games total. But other than that, Darren Waller is a legit talented, like one of the best tight ends when he's healthy in the league. Like there's no doubt about it. It's like Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, he's up there. But Darren Waller, he's up there when he's fully healthy for a whole entire season. So now that the Giants have him, now that Daniel Jones has him, and we know Daniel Jones is accurate. He's not unaccurate. Yeah, he doesn't have a cannon, but he's accurate. He makes smart reads. He makes smart decisions. So you just get him a couple weapons, and this New York Giants team, they can really elevate. I really do think they can. So Darren Waller now with Saquon Barkley, who is already a top 5 running back in the National Football League. You also have Andrew Thomas on the offensive line, who's a great building block. He's a legit one of the, I'd say, a top 10 offensive lineman in the NFL right now. And then you also look at Isaiah Hodgson, you look at Wan'Dale Robinson, even look at Daniel Bellinger too a little bit. And those are guys that can kind of be like role players, good pieces on a good team, They don't need to be number ones, but that's what the Giants need, though. They need that number one target. Now, is Darren Waller a capable number one target? Maybe if you get it like a guy like Jerry Jeudy, but Jerry Jeudy won't be available because the Broncos aren't going to want to give him up now, especially with Sean Payton as head coach. So they need to find a legit number one. Is it DeAndre Hopkins? I've been saying go get DeAndre Hopkins. I've been a big fan of New York Giants. Go get DeAndre Hopkins. Just think about DeAndre Hopkins with Darren Waller, with Saquon Barkley, Andrew Thomas blocking for them, and Daniel Jones throwing the ball to those guys. And then, like I said, you still have Isaiah Hodgson. You still have Wan'Dale Robinson. And then the defensive side is still going to take a step forward, I think, under Wink Martindale in year 2. We always see the defensive coordinators when they have a really an okay year 1, they usually take a major step forward in year 2. So I'm excited. Like you saw Rob Saleh. I mean, he wasn't a defensive coordinator with the Jets, but he had an okay year. You saw the signs, and then they really took off. And the Giants have the makeup of a good defense too. I was talking about it. I wrote a couple articles about it with Fansided and the G-Man HQ. So I think, with the Giants, they're defensively, you look at the guys that they have, like Dexter Lawrence, he's a freaking stud. He's one of the best defensive linemen in the league, just like Quentin Williams with the Jets. And then you look at Xavier McKinney. When the Giants had him on the field healthy, they were completely different. They lost every game that he didn't participate in last year. And when he did participate, they only lost 2 games. They won like 7 or I think 8 games with him in the starting lineup. So Xavier McKinney, he's a guy when he's fully healthy, and it wasn't like a torn muscle or anything. He fell off a quad. It was a freak accident. So he's not injury prone. And he had 5 picks the other year. So he's a great free safety. And then, you get another couple pieces on the defensive line to add to Kayvon Thibodeau, who's going to be, I think he's going to take a step forward in year 2. And then, like I said, Dexter Lawrence is already a stud. And then Leonard Williams, he's a proven, legit defensive lineman too. They have a makeup of a good defense. Yes, they need a lockdown cornerback, and they could probably use another linebacker because Bobby Okereke is great, but he's, like I said, he's a top 10 linebacker in a couple of my pods earlier. But I don't think he just makes this linebacker room just like overnight legit. Maybe add Trenton Simpson out of Clemson in the draft with the 25th overall pick. That's a target that they've been potentially rumored and linked to. So that's an interesting thing that, if you Giants fans want to look into him, go look into him. He's a really good prospect. So I think the Giants, they have the makeup of a good defense. They have a makeup of a good offense. They're just like really 1 or 2, 3 or 3 big name players at positions that they really need. So get a big-time cornerback, get a big-time wide receiver, whether it's in the draft, whether it's in free agency, whether it's through trade. I don't know, but they need to do something to help out Daniel Jones, because now that you have Daniel Jones on a 4-year deal and you're bringing back Saquon Barkley, you can't just rebuild. They were 2 wins away from a Super Bowl. It's not like they were 2 wins away from a Super Bowl. So it's not like they're bottom feeders. And the NFC is wide open because Philadelphia Eagles, they took some hits this year too. Like I said, losing C.J. Gardner-Johnson, that's going to be huge. Losing Miles Sanders, he was a beast at the running back position for them last year. He was Jalen Hurts' right-hand man. So that's another big blow to them. They've lost coaching, which the Giants didn't lose. They kept Mike Kafka. They kept Wink Martindale. And Brian Daboll with Daniel Jones in year 2, just a little bit more chemistry, like I said, and you add that number 1 target. And this offense takes a huge step forward. We could see Daniel Jones propel from that 15 to 20 range, or maybe even some people's eyes, that 12 to 15 range, into that top 10 range. And you get him a number 1 wide receiver. You get a number 1 cornerback. And yes, it's a hot take, but I think the Giants would be able to win the NFC East based off what the Eagles have lost. And even if they don't, they're still going to make the playoffs. So Like I said, 2 wins away from a Super Bowl. Let's talk some Knicks, some New York Knicks. Their playoff potential, it's officially set that the New York Knicks are going to, whoa. The Knicks are facing the Cavs. So I'm pumped up for that. Because one, the Donovan Mitchell bullshit, let's be real. Donovan Mitchell, it was all, we got to get him. If we don't get Donovan Mitchell, we're dumb. And they're like, why are we getting Jalen Brunson? He's not a good player. He only averaged 16 points per game with Dallas. Who's Jalen Brunson? Well, Jalen Brunson might be a superstar. He's definitely an all-star. Should have been an all-star. He's averaging 24 points per game this year. You got Emmanuel Quickly off the bench, who's a 6th Man of the Year candidate. You got Julius Randle, all-NBA power forward. You got Quentin Grimes, who can play very good defense, and he can shoot the 3 ball very well. Mitchell Robinson, one of the best shot blockers in the game. He might not be one of the best offensive centers in the game, but defensively, he's a beast. And I think that's a good matchup against Jared Allen. And I like Julius Randle against Evan Mobley. And do I like RJ Barrett? I mean, yeah, I do. I take him too. And then Grimes over Garland? Hell no. I'm taking Garland over Grimes. But am I taking Donovan Mitchell over Jalen Brunson? And that's the one I think that everyone is looking at. Donovan Mitchell versus Jalen Brunson. Yeah, they're not going to be guarding each other necessarily, but, back and forth. They both popped off when they did play each other the other night, 40 and 40, over 40-plus games for both of them. Jalen Brunson slayed Donovan Mitchell in the Utah Jazz last year without Luka. Can you do it again? But Donovan Mitchell has more than just Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley. Donovan Mitchell now has Darius Garland. He has Evan Mobley. He has Jared Allen. So that's, yes. Does it worry me a little bit? Yeah. Are the Cavs on paper probably better than the Knicks? Yeah. But the Knicks can win. The Knicks, defensively, I think they're one of the best teams in the league. Look at the numbers. So I'm pumped up to see this Knicks-Cavs series. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But listen, I got to close the show out actually right now. So I want to spend 2 minutes quickly on the Knicks, and then I'm going to talk some Yanks tomorrow, probably. Garrett Cole is a beast, by the way. I'm also going to be at the Mets home opener, so if you're going to be at the Mets home opener and you want to link up, let me know. But Knicks, let me get my quick 2-minute take. The New York Knicks, they should win the first-round series. Why? Because when things change, expectations change. I've said it before. All NBA power forward, all-star point guard, Jalen Brunson. This team is good. This team is legit. Emmanuel Quickly, I think, is an emerging star. He's a budding star. I think, this week off is going to be huge for them. It's going to give Jalen Brunson some rest. It's going to give Julius Randle some rest. And it's going to give Tom Thibodeau a little bit of time to potentially see who he wants to put into this postseason rotation. It's going to give him, do you want to put Obi Toppin in? Do you want to maybe work in some minutes with him? I'm not sure. And then the Mets tomorrow. I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see Francisco freaking Alvarez tomorrow, potential in the starting lineup. I'm pumped up for it. Garrett Cole is an absolute stud. Didn't get a chance to talk about it today, but I will get a chance to talk about it soon. What else did I talk about? Jets, man. Zach Wilson, is he going to be a strong enough backup? We'll find out. We will find out, I guess, next year if Aaron Rodgers potentially goes down at some point in the year. But other than that, man, let's go. And like I said, they're going to be at the home opener tomorrow for the Mets. So let's go, Mets. Garrett Cole, he's a beast. Didn't get a chance to talk about him today, but I will. So let's go, Mets. Yankees also play tomorrow. We got a day off with the Knicks and Nets. They got their one more last game of the year. The Nets are looking to keep that 6th seed. So shout out McCall Bridges, what he's been doing with the Nets. And yeah, like I said, the Nolan Show, one of the best, not what I think. This show stinks. That's what I think. But fastest growing New York sports show. That's what I'm going to say anyways. So thank you for watching. like I said, if you want to learn more about New York sports or you just want to hear about me talk about New York sports and my takes on it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter at Nolan Show Live. Do whatever you want to do. Have a good one. Deuces.